Today we're going to talk about the alligator skeleton, and the alligator is an amniote, a diapsid, an archosaur, and that includes the birds, the extinct dinosaurs, the extinct pterosaurs, alligators and crocodiles. And we're going to start off by talking about the axial skeleton, which includes the skull that we're about to describe, and then later on we'll talk about the vertebral column, the ribs and the sternum. So let's start off by talking about the skull. So if we look at the skull, obviously the skull on an alligator is made up of many different bones, and the ones we're going to concentrate on are the ones which make up the upper jaw. So at the front here we've got the premaxillar bone, and then the bone which bears all the teeth just here is called the maxilla. And if we look in between the eyes just here, we've got a pair of frontal bones. The other interesting thing to realize about the skull of the alligator as a reptile is it is a true diapsid. So it's got these two holes just here, one here and one here in the skull. And those are known as the superior and inferior fenestra. And there's a lot of debate about why diapsids have these holes in the skeleton. It's been proposed that perhaps it's because they have large, powerful jaw muscles, and when the jaw muscles contract, this gives them a chance to have a space to contract into. Or maybe the ridges just here and lower down are for attachment points for the muscles. But really, I don't think people exactly know why they're there. Another somewhat unusual feature about the alligator is that it's got what's called a secondary palate. So if you were to look inside the mouth here, if we could somehow get inside and look at the roof of the mouth, we'd find the maxilla, the premaxilla, the maxilla, and then further back we've got a palatine bone. And what those do is they create separate passageways. So air will go through the nostrils here, and it'll be quite separate from food which is going to go into the mouth. And that's pretty much a mammalian situation. Most mammals are going to have secondary palates. If we look at the lower jaw is made up of several bones as well. I think it's 6 different bones that we're going to find. The main one is the dentary, just here, on which the teeth are placed. They still have a hinge in the jaw whereby the articular of the lower jaw is going to make a hinge with a quadrate bone in the upper jaw. So that kind of a jaw mechanism is the same mechanism as we found for the first time in amphibians. And what happens during development is when you move from fishes to amphibians, a bone, the hyomandibular, which used to support the jaw, has now been freed up. And if we were to be able to see inside the ear of the alligator, we would find that, like all reptiles, it's formed one of the bones inside the ear called the stapes. The eyes are placed fairly high on the head just here, and that's obviously to give it a good view when it's submerged. It's lost the ability for any of these bones to move. When you look at some skulls, you'll find they've still got what's called cranial kinesis. That means there's actually the possibility that the joints between some of the bones are able to move, but it's not able to in this particular example. And then the final thing is if we look here at where the skull articulates with the vertebral column, there is a single occipital condyle.